shortly. And when he does, he's getting took to a secure location. That's that. Everyone knows the situation, yeah?
As a fighting man, you've told us to come to Doncaster, you've threatened us, and now you're talking about my lass again. So, we'll be in Doncaster on Friday. Little field trip planned. You wanted this, Brett, mate.
I wasn't really sure which channel to put this one on, so I put it on the fight channel because it is kind of about fighting, and there was supposed to be money changing hands. This was the fight between Danny Christie and Brett May, two amateurs who were going to be paid £20,000 each by this Irish backer. So we're going to talk about this. So welcome to Al Don's Fight Reviews. Were they travellers? I don't think they were travellers, but they may have had some connection. They flew over from Dublin. What an embarrassment. Now I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this to you, Brett, if you're listening. Now I do have two channels. I have this one and nobody listens anyway. So I'm going to try and build this one up. I have another true crime channel, which is again low key, but more people listen, but they don't really want to listen to kind of a fight channel, even though there is a true crime connection because some of the fighters have been involved. We are human, and they have been involved in some crime. They don't carry that on normally, and they do regret that. Some carry it on, of course, but they do normally regret it. And I don't advocate these guys and girls. They normally have kids, so they don't advocate carrying on crime, because as we know, crime, it could pay, couldn't it? But we've all got consciences and morals. So what happened? So Brett, I think it's easy for me to sit here and say you should have fought. It's hard, isn't it? It's a hard thing to do. You have got to be a real man. But you were going on about it. You were going on about it all the time, what a fighter you were. And you were going to flat pack Danny Christie, as well as a few others. I know it's showbiz, and I know it's like WWF, and you wanted to get in, and you're very good at that. But you should have fought, because you were saying that you wanted to fight, and you didn't mention All In, really. You did mention All In, but you're a bare knuckle fighter. Danny, what was it, 9 stone Danny was giving away to you in this. So you had a real chance, especially with 20,000. I am pretty 100% sure you could knock me out, Brett, for 20,000. I would step up. It wouldn't be much of a fight though, would it? People wouldn't want to watch this. But people wanted to watch you and Danny fight. Just to see if you did have that, you had that chance, you had that punch, you had that hard punch. I know you were saying that you were running every day still, but you weren't in the gym. But you don't really need that so much in bare knuckle. Okay, in the BKFC perhaps you do, but in this, it would have been quick, wouldn't it? You wouldn't need massive amounts of cardio as such, because you only need that for about a minute or two. Once the punches go in, they go in. But I know Danny was probably the favourite as such because he was fitter and everything else. But you had it there because of your weight. A good match would have been in the past between you and Dekahegi. I think Dekahegi would have beaten you actually. We don't know. We'll never know because you won't ever fight. But you talk about it. So what is going on? It doesn't matter now. I don't want to be evil or anything else, but I think your channel's over now. You had the chance to rectify anything that you said. It was the kind of the lies going on about his girlfriend. Was there anything in it? Because of what you said before, you tell lies before, it could be a cry wolf and nobody believed what you said anyway. Maybe there was an inkling of belief, but when you said you knocked out Dekahegi in the library in the whole prison and you didn't, that was it, really. Or should have been, but people still like watching you. Should they really unsubscribe from you, and you'd have to build up again. I don't know, build up. But if you can give away 20 grand, you must be doing well financially. A fair play to you if you are. You talk about your buy-to-lets or something else, that you've got some business going, which is fair enough. If you have. And 20 grand meant nothing to you. But you said all in, but then before that you wanted a bare knuckle fight on a platform beforehand with this Bad to the Bone promotion, and that was bare knuckle, or they didn't mind whether you used, or Danny would use 4-ounce UFC gloves. You could have used the 4-ounce gloves and it would have softened the blow a bit from Danny's punches. So why did you do it? Why did you back off? And at the time you must have been panicked, because everybody was saying, you need to fight now, you need to fight now. Even Danny was at the end of his tether and he said, an all in, yeah, he'd take the all in. And you still didn't take it up. You were always on social media, you were always there. You could have taken that up and just fought all in. But it's not good all in. I'll tell you why, because you jump on him and you start wrestling him to the ground. It comes like a wrestling match. If you hold on to him and you don't get a lock on the neck or anything else, and Danny wriggles out, you're still holding on to him for minutes and minutes and minutes, and it doesn't become a fight. You're bare knuckle, he's bare knuckle. You could have used, as I say, the gloves just to protect the hands, both of you, and gone at it. You might have been lucky with your punches, getting in early. Danny has been knocked out before, you might have been lucky. Or you might not have done, but I think you would have been aware. I would have got knocked out straight away by either of you, but you would have been more aware of what was coming. And you're not totally rubbish, are you, at boxing? You know what you're doing. You could have just, I don't know, you could have used defence mode and then wait for that 1 or 2 combination punch to fire off into Danny. Why? What happened? What was going through your mind? Your mind must have been, don't want to fight. And I know what that feels when you've made up your mind not to fight, but you wanted to carry on with the WWF. And I don't think Shadow from Ireland, I don't think you helped back in him saying it was good to have build-ups and pretend that you're going to fight each other and you never do. And Shadow, you were encouraging that. I think you're the only friend that he's got at the moment as such, or only viewer. Pretty soon with my 5 viewers I'll have more than your viewers, or should be. But are people hypocritical? Are they going to still watch you? Fair enough, they might still watch you. They're slagging you off, but they're probably still going to watch you maybe. I don't know. How are you going to pull this one around? I don't think you can. You were going to fight on some of the biggest platforms really within the UK in this field, and now you've lost all that. You've turned everyone against you because you're not reliable. You won't fight anymore. I don't want to dwell on that, and I'm not targeting yourself. I'm just giving my view. Like many others, they're going to have you put your view down in the comments. Whoever you are, put your view down. You might be all for Brett, that's fine. You might be all for him. But it was an excuse. It wasn't because of the all-in. You suggested the all-in from the start. It was an excuse because Danny turned up. You didn't expect that maybe. You just wanted to carry this on in your mind. The facade, it's all over. You'll get lots of clicks and views without fighting, like you did before, and you thought that he'd come through it, but it didn't happen because other people were there. You wasted other people's time. These businessmen, how embarrassing. These businessmen came over, whoever they were, from Dublin, and they wanted to back you. They wanted to back you, what you could bring and what you could offer to the table. Couldn't you have just gone down after 1 punch maybe? Maybe just took a dive for 20 grand. It didn't make sense. Did not make sense. on the other side of the coin, the platform is looking very promising, the platform at the moment, the fighting platform, whatever format, whether it's UFC, gloved fights, not so much all in as such. They're going to have some rules, aren't they, to make it legal. We don't want it all illegal, because if it's got rulings, you can get venues, and you get backing, you can get insurance, and councils will back some of these venues and where they are, especially in the winter. Don't want to be fighting outside so much in the winter, freezing cold, horrible, wet, raining UK weather. So these organisations, there is a market there. There is a bit of a gap. Simon Kirk, I've met Simon, and I don't want to go into the ins and outs of what happened, because that's a bit dangerous as well going into that, isn't it? But he's gone abroad, so there's a little gap there in the market as such. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see more sponsors, rather than the fighters going having to find tickets and sell tickets, and the punters paying kind of over the odds for these tickets. I'd like to see more so sponsors come in and they set the financial backing, ticket sales. Maybe the fighters will get less money in that way, but at least it will be some sort of platform to go on, and the sponsor's name will be out there all over the place, and they'll get exposure, and they'll back it, they'll fund it. What do you think? Put down in the comments if you want to carry on with fighters getting the tickets. Then it could go that way, it could carry on, but no, it looks promising, especially with backers like the Irish. And if you pay-per-view some of these fights, you'll get a lot of clicks and views if you make it a good price to pay-per-view, as well as the YouTube views or whatever else, maybe afterwards, what you get afterwards, the aftermath, the, what do they call it, the advertising views. That could be enough to satisfy these backers. You wouldn't even have to put 20 grand in. Maybe you could put less. Maybe you could go lower tier and build up these fighters and go for the lower tier fighters, maybe 5 grand off of 5 grand a piece, and then go bigger. And who knows, you might be able to attract bigger names, and that will attract more money. Therefore the business is going to upfront more money, so you're going to get 30, 40, 50,000 pound offered up front for each fighter, win or lose. Have some more stipulations stamped on there, more regulations, more backing, medical there, medical team there, which is important, I think, really, rather than the field. And if you have got a field, you're always open to other people, dog walkers. There's always somebody that's going to complain. Imagine walking onto that. If you are a dog walker, especially if you're female, and you walk onto that in your local area, it's not a great thing to walk on two grown men, sort of. Just the thought of it. The thought, even though we know that the fighters know what they're doing, because they're both fairly fit and they know what they're doing, the dog walker as such isn't going to necessarily, they're going to think there's some sort of violence that's happening and two people trying to kill each other or something. So social media is always going to be there, and we know that it generates money, it generates clicks and views. Look at Jake Paul. I mean, I personally think he is a good fighter, and I think he's professional level, and maybe not as good as he thinks that he is, but then again, he's a showman as well, isn't he? So the amateur field can develop, and like it or loathe it, they're going to develop, and they're going to attract even more money than some of the better fighters, the professional fighters, who are getting a lot less on another type of platform. So there is a niche there. They can work alongside each other and maybe cross over, which would be good, because the training will be better, the nutrition will be better, it will be more professional, as some of the amateurs are, as some of those fighters that I've mentioned are in the past, you know. And Danny knows what he's doing. Danny knows about nutrition and everything else. I'm not sure about this drug thing. It seems to be a free-for-all on steroids. I come from a sport where that's it's frowned upon. But other sports, bodybuilding, UFC, it seems to be semi-legal. Certainly bodybuilding has always been legal as such. It's supposed to not, but it is, and they take the juice. Blood doping within the cycling field, blood doping, EPO drugs. But they are trying to do things about it. They do try and keep up, but you've got so many masking agents. But it's frowned upon. So you've got to, I think you've got to publicise more so what's acceptable. Are you going to accept the steroids? Are you going to have a funding or backing from these financial companies? Are you going to have out of season testing? That's the only way you're going to catch them. If you do say, right, we don't advocate taking these drugs. They do have long-term damage. They can damage your health in the long term. I'm not saying I know. I'm not saying I'm an expert in that field, but kind of they can. Or do you just open it up and say anything goes, take what you want? And that'll have to be maybe across the board in all sports. You could do it that way. They're saying it's unnatural. If as in cycling or something like distance running, etc., and sprinting as such, people go to an altitude level of training camp, so it's supposed to be natural because you're breathing in naturally the air around you, and then when you go down to sea level, you suddenly start performing. You've produced a high oxygen intake. You've injected those red blood cells with that oxygen that you've been breathing in naturally as such. Because some people see that as kind of cheating, but that's how they get over it. It's kind of natural. You're not taking anything in as such, and then you go down to sea level and you're absolutely flying. There is a line of a difference. Rather than going to altitude training and also blood doping and EPOing, etc., then coming back to sea level, and then taking the masking agents, etc. But that's a whole different kettle of fish. I didn't want to talk about that really. But put down in the comments if you think drug taking within sport should all be legalised across the board. You can't have you can't, like bodybuilders have a natural bodybuilding competition done. You can't have that because people are just going to cheat, aren't they? Anything that offers prestige, even if it's amateur, even if it doesn't offer money, you'll gain in the long term because you'll go on social media, you'll gain money that way, etc. So the only way you could do it is not have it and have out-of-season testing and have a war against drugs, or legalise it and say, boom, free for all sports, take what you want, do what you want. What's your thoughts?